6, that's the stream. it starts minutes into the pump. Don't start it. Go back to
No, it literally says.
fade in, pump it 1 minute till. You gotta do something quick.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, they don't have the people yet. They don't have the suits yet. Are they waiting for the music to walk in?
I don't know. Should I play it? No. Don't play it? No. They're closing the door.
Yeah,
So yeah, go ahead.
I called Max, and
Good evening. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Deborah Caves. I'm the principal of James Madison. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to the 2025 Senior Commencement Ceremony for James Madison Preparatory School. We are here to recognize and celebrate the milestones that represent so much growth, potential, and hard work that these seniors have shown preparing for the next step in their journeys. This graduating class was presented with the challenge of being the ones to show the resilience needed to come back from the trying situations that came with COVID, and they all responded with class and cohesiveness. When I was still in the classroom, these were some of the first students that I taught in person after coming back from that difficult situation. And all of them, no matter when they joined our community, have been a pleasure. Sorry. Even as 8th graders, they showed the support and togetherness that is truly their hallmark. An example of this tight-knit feeling is, and I don't know if they remember this or not, but Carson was absent one day. So they took it upon themselves to include him in class by taking a large 8x10 picture of Carson, a stool, and made a fake Carson, complete with a hoodie, a water bottle, a pencil, and a notebook. And he literally sat in class with us, just so he could be a part of the group. These kids, now almost graduates, made me laugh often and brought me so much joy. They reminded me of what truly good people they were and are, and they helped all of us move back to being in a good place. The founders of our school, Stephen and David Batchelder, created James Madison with an eye toward creating flexible, intelligent graduates who could function in an increasingly fluid environment. And we live in a time where their flexibility and intelligence is needed more than ever before. The motto that the founders created for the school, "History is the teacher of life," requires our students to have that kind of education that follows them to understand what has gone before, to better understand how to impact what is to come. All of us at James Madison are thankful for that you have entrusted your students to this wonderful community. We could not be more proud of these accomplished young graduates. And we look forward to this group of young people and feel a sense of pride, a sense of optimism, and above all, a feeling that the world will be a better place because they are in it. And now, I am pleased to welcome the valedictorian for the class of 2024-25, Gavin McClure.
Yep, she's already crying. Okay, it's probably gonna be a theme. Don't act like some of you guys are innocent. You guys will do it too. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Gavin McClure, and I'm the valedictorian of the 2025 speech. Before I formally start my speech, I would like to thank my family for helping me get there, and in my class for being really fun all the way throughout. This is the 25th year that James Madison Preparatory School has been open. I've personally been here for 7 of those years, but I wanted to reflect on the time I and the rest of the graduating class have spent here. In many ways, this graduating class is a fitting one for the 25th anniversary of the school. We had unforgettable experiences throughout, from extracurriculars to parties. The dance weeks in particular were memorable highlights, both because of the dress-up days that allow for creativity and the dances themselves. Our last prom was especially memorable due to the upbeat energy everyone carried. Of course, there were also challenges. The curriculum we were part of was rigorous, and sometimes the workload was all-consuming. There were also difficulties behind the scenes, and some activities ended up being more restricted than usual this year. Still, it was worthwhile, as we are now better prepared for life and many great memories to bring with us. Will I do it again? No, absolutely not. However, I am so grateful to have this opportunity to get this experience. This graduating class is particularly interesting because we are familiar with two different styles of administration. All of us, except for Prince, were around at the time the Batchelder brothers and Mr. Grant ran the school. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. I spent 4 years with them, 3 in middle school and 1 in high school, and was sad to see them go. However, I appreciate the hard work of the current staff under the leadership of Mrs. Caves. As such, I wanted to extend my thanks to both current and former staff members that helped get me to this point. I also, once again, like to thank all the parents and guardians who supported this class through the whole process. As this graduating class leaves to go into the world as adults, I would like to take a brief minute to discuss the idea of impact. At this point, I think I've established the impact on the school on us well enough. However, I also feel like the class left an impact on the school itself. There are the easy talking points, of course, like NHS cleaning the weight room and my Eagle Scout project adding planter boxes to the campus, not to brag. However, I also feel like this class brought a special amount of enthusiasm to the school. From extracurriculars, special events, to even mundane campus life, this class brought spirit to the campus that will be felt in many classes from now. This, I feel, is the impact we are leaving. In many ways, this graduating class is a fitting one for the 25th anniversary of the school. We had the complete experience that this school has to offer with 2 sets of staff at this point. In that time, both the class and the school left an impact on each other and cemented their places in each other's legacy. Hopefully, they will both continue to grow and improve as they step into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin, for your speech. And now we have a very special presentation of an award that is central to the idea of James Madison, and that is the Wengert Award. It is presented in honor of a foundational supporter of James Madison, and that would be Dr. Harold Wengert. This award is introduced by Mr. Gordon Schaefer and presented by Mr. Schaefer and Mrs. Kay Wengert.
It is my honor tonight to, along with Mrs. Kay Wengert, present the Wengert Award to one of our graduating seniors. The Wengert Award was established in 2006 by Kay in honor and memory of her husband, Dr. Harold Wengert. Dr. Wengert, affectionately known by staff and students simply as Doc, was a well-beloved man of great substance who had been one of the original teachers at JMPS. Dr. Wengert held an EDD in science education and came to us following a full career in the education field. He was nationally known as a prominent voice in the homeschool movement and was highly respected in his work developing curriculum there. Doc was more than a classroom teacher. He was a member of the staff, a mentor, and a friend to all on campus. He lived life with a true servant's heart, leading both staff and students in striving to become the best versions of ourselves. Doc and his wife Kay's dedication to the school was unwavering from the beginning. Doc was often the first person on campus in the morning, the last one to leave at night. His wife Kay was also a constant presence, volunteering whenever needed, including coaching that very first cheer team and washing the football team's jerseys each week. Along with our founders, Dave and Steve Batchelder, Doc was instrumental in applying the foundational idea of putting the good of students first, a principle that remains at the core of JMPS culture. Doc deeply believed in the mission of James Madison Preparatory School. He believed that students are capable of meeting whatever expectations we set for them. And therefore, we should aim high with firm consistency, accountability, and most importantly, love. He believed that JMPS would not only provide an excellent education for students, but for those who truly embrace what we stand for, that we would change the trajectory of their lives. The Wengert Award is presented to a student who reflects Dr. Wengert's hope for our students by demonstrating great growth in all areas, including both academics and in character. The recipient tonight, administration and faculty, could not be prouder of her growth as a student. I am proud to announce the recipient of the 2025 Wengert Award is Kira Ogilvie.
Congratulations, Kira. And now, as is the tradition here at James Madison, graduates will be personally recognized and spoken about by a member of the staff. If you are joining us for your first JMPS graduation ceremony, you are in for something special. You should know that this is the capstone section of our program and a very special tradition here. Few, if any, schools do this. I don't know if you can imagine 1,100 personalized speeches given to a crowd of 10,000. But this personalized recognition symbolizes these special graduates' accomplishments and the memories they will leave behind that will enhance the legacy of this school. Then graduates will receive gifts from the school in a tradition started by Stephen and David Batchelder. These are designed to symbolize the importance of their next steps while remembering the lessons that will pave the way for their continued success. From Mrs. Caves, graduates will receive the book Thank You, Mr. Falker by Patricia Polacco. This book, as our graduates will tell you, is traditionally read by Mrs. Caves during an assembly early in the year. It reminds us that we can overcome challenges and that their teachers truly care about their success. It also reminds the staff that it's a good idea to stand towards the back so that your homeroom doesn't see someone crying about people caring. Our second book, selected by Mr. Schaefer, is The Killer Angels, a novel of the Civil War by Michael Shara. It is, as you may have ascertained from the title, a selection that goes in a slightly different direction than the previous work. It is a respected fictionalization of the Battle of Gettysburg and the major socio-political impact that the Civil War would have on this nation. Included with these books is a pocket constitution of the United States of America. They have all this memorized, I'm pretty sure, but just in case. In addition to these books, our graduates will receive a tool that represents self-reliance. This tool has taken many forms over the years, but has also always been a multi-tool, symbolizing the myriad different schools that our graduates will take, myriad different skills that our graduates will take into the future. This year, it's a streamlined Gerber tool, one that can go places and do things that a larger, more cumbersome tool cannot. It's sleek and adaptable and effective in new and surprising ways, just like our graduates. And now, for our first speaker, please welcome Dr. Quigley.
Okay, so I've got a little voice thing going on today, so bear with me. I apologize ahead of time. Yeah, I don't normally sound like this. So a couple of years ago, I had a student approach me and suggest that I ask the student body if anybody would be interested in restarting the JMPS Odyssey of the Mind team. As an academic decathlon coach, I didn't feel it was the best fit for me. But I had coached Odyssey of the Mind in the past, so I agreed to pitch the idea. And sure enough, there was sufficient interest to field a high school team. One of the students who said they were interested in joining was a crossover from my academic decathlon team. That was surprising to me because they are very different competitions. Academic decathlon, commonly abbreviated ACADEC, is highly structured. The competitors are given several dense packets of information to study and then take standardized tests over their study material. It's primarily scored objectively. You're either right or wrong, you earn points or you don't. But Odyssey of the Mind, or simply Odyssey, is much more nebulous. Students are presented with basic guidelines for a problem, but they are largely left to their own devices and creativity to come up with an original performance. Academic competitions are in classrooms with students sitting at desks taking tests. Odyssey is performed on a stage in front of an audience. It's rare to find an individual who can take or who would like to do both simultaneously. Well, Alexa Carval is just such a rare individual. Sometimes it's not the voice, it's emotion, so I apologize for that too. She's been very active in extracurriculars during her time at JMPS, not just active, but diverse in her participation. The collection of activities has ranged from athletics like soccer to online gaming with esports and the performance competition of Odyssey of the Mind and to the scholastic competition of academic decathlon. Alexa's approach to life mirrors this diverse approach to extracurricular activities with out-of-the-box thinking and problem solving. I only started to really appreciate her creative approach to problem solving once I saw her work in Odyssey and Acadec. Odyssey thrives on creative thinking and pushing boundaries. The same approach can also have its rewards in Acadec. Although it's mostly an objective competition, there are outlets for the creative mind, primarily in speech, essay, and the interview categories. I really enjoyed some of the experimental approaches Alexa tried with her speeches. I think she would go far with her natural desire to creatively experiment with novel approaches to problem solving and her willingness to push boundaries and to see just what she can accomplish. Alexa has set some lofty goals for herself post-high school, but in typical fashion, those education and career goals show a desire to think creatively and apply novel approaches to life. Just as I was impressed with the creativity she brought to Acadec and Odyssey, I'm equally impressed with her goal of combining architecture and history to work in a field of preservation architecture. That sounds like an amazing field to explore. Alexa, I hope you never... Alexa, I hope you never lose that creative, experimental... Sorry, thought I had it. Let's try that again. Alexa, I hope you never lose that creative, experimental, and boundary-pushing approach to life that you brought to both academic decathlon and Odyssey of the Mind. Sometimes you'll encounter resistance and misunderstandings, but other times your creativity will bring joy and amazement to those around you. 2 sentences, 2 more. I myself have been amazed by your originality on more than one occasion. I hope the very best for you as you pursue your dreams. Congratulations, Alexa Carval. I've got 2 more. Okay, for this senior, I'd like to take a little time to talk about strength and fierceness. Regarding strength, I do not simply mean physical strength, although physical strength certainly applies to this student and her athletic ability. She has demonstrated her physical strength numerous times on the basketball court, the volleyball court, and track and field. And when I say fierceness, I do mean in a competitive sense, but it applies in many other respects as well for this individual. If I'm talking about strength and fierceness, then I feel it should be obvious that I'm talking about Ava Gordon. Ava has demonstrated her physical strength during homeroom competitions. I distinctly remember one time in Ava's freshman year, during the homeroom winter decorating contest, we needed a large cabinet moved from one side of the room to the other. I managed to get it moved away from the wall, but I needed to ask for volunteers to help push it across the floor. In typical fashion, Ava stepped right up, got low against the end of the cabinet, and by herself, pushed it out of the way. As a freshman, she had that kind of strength, and she has only gotten stronger over the years. But physical strength is not what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on Ava's mental strength in terms of her intelligence and dedication, as well as her emotional strength in terms of her work ethic and maturity. Academically, Ava has always shown that she is an intelligent and capable student. Her work ethic and maturity have really been on display during her high school years, where she has demonstrated what she is truly capable of achieving. When Ava applies her mental strength and discipline, she never fails to excel. As Ava moves on to the next stage of her education at ASU, I have no worries that her intelligence and work ethic, she will shine while pursuing a degree in biology. For someone to be successful in the career pathways Ava is considering, whether it's emergency medicine or trauma surgery, it does take something a little extra. It takes something beyond intellectual ability. It takes an element of fierceness to get through PA or medical school and to work in emergency medicine. But not fierceness in a brutal or cruel sense. That is certainly not who Ava is. Rather, by fierceness, I mean having intensity and assertiveness. Those are deeply positive traits. Both of them describe Ava perfectly. Her fierceness is not for show. It's just who she is. It has been on display over the years in her competitive nature. She does not like to lose, and rarely does. This year, I have seen that fierce competitive spirit applied to her academics as well as athletics. I have seen her work hard in my class, and she has distinguished herself as one of my top-performing students. My homeroom and the JMPS athletic programs are going to deeply miss Ava's strength, both physical and mental, as well as her fierceness. I have no doubt that those traits, along with her intelligence, leadership, and strong work ethic, will ensure her success as she pursues a bachelor's degree followed by a medical degree. Thank you, Ava, for all the energy, dedication, and fierceness you have brought to my homeroom and to JMPS. We can't wait to hear about your many accomplishments yet to come. Ava Gordon. So one of the things we as educators love to see is for our students to thrive and grow, not just in terms of their scholarship, but also in their character. It has been a joy to see how Nina Robinson has thrived and grown here at JMPS, especially over the last 2 years. The way that a student grows academically is similar to an athlete increases their muscle mass. In order to grow in physical strength, an athlete must stress their body. Likewise, for a student to grow intellectually, they must stress their cognitive ability. As educators, we can provide students with the opportunities to stress their abilities so that they can learn and grow. However, like the proverbial horse being led to water, we cannot force students to learn and improve. Students have agency over their own learning. They must be an active participant in their education. In order for a student to grow in ability, knowledge, and confidence, they must be willing to stress themselves, to test themselves. Nina is an excellent example of this type of student. When Nina was led to the metaphorical wellspring of knowledge, she didn't just drink, she drank deeply. Nowhere has this been more evident than in our accomplishments in academic decathlon. One of the arguments I make for why students should join Acadec is that it's a good way to challenge yourself and to discover what you are truly capable of accomplishing. I think Nina's success is proof of this argument. Every time she competed, she improved her score over the previous time. She is the current JMPS medal count record holder for a single competition. And as MVP, she led our team in points the last 2 seasons. Her classroom accomplishments mirror those in academic decathlon. As Nina has progressed through high school, she has gotten stronger each and every year. Already an excellent student, Nina has become a powerhouse. She has grown in her abilities and in her confidence. The improvement in her GPA was seen in academic decathlon this year when she had the opportunity to compete in honors, the highest GPA category. Nina had an outstanding senior year, a year of earning excellent grades, living the code, and participating in everything from tennis to rock band, culminating with being honored with this year's Woman of the Year. Now, as much as I would like to give her involvement in academic decathlon the credit for the growth we have seen, I have to give credit where credit is due. We merely provided the opportunity for Nina to excel. It was her willingness to take on the challenges, to do the hard work, and to push herself that enabled her to constantly improve and grow. She pushed her abilities to see where her limits were, and I think she has learned a lot about herself in the process. One of the things I think she has learned is that she hasn't even approached her limits yet. I, for one, would agree with that assessment. Nina, keep that drive to push your... Nina, keep that drive to push your limits, to seek new challenges, to test yourself, and to work hard. Your upward trajectory is just beginning. While you will encounter new challenges as you go on to GCU to study forensic science, I have every confidence that you will not only succeed, but thrive. Congratulations on a banner year. You are an outstanding student in every metric. We all look forward to hearing about your many future achievements. Nina Robinson. And now, Mr. Jamie Tran.
Good evening. I've had the pleasure of teaching Sebastian Canonizato for almost 2 years now, through pre-calculus and physics, as well as acting as his senior project advisor. He also assisted me greatly as a TA for pre-calculus this year. You would not believe the backlog of grading that he helped me to clear. I have to thank you first and foremost for that. As I was trying to sum up my thoughts about Sebastian over the year, our experiences in physics particularly came to mind. Believe it or not, physics can be a fun subject, but some topics within physics are notoriously difficult. I can imagine the looks on their faces when I say the phrase inclined plane or calculate tension. There we go. Fun section. When someone is faced with a challenge like these topics, there are a few different approaches that I've seen people take. I've seen people try their best to find some way to circumvent the work and avoid facing that challenge head-on as much as possible. I've seen people give up completely, which is about the worst thing that you can do for yourself. And I've seen people just keep going, just keep trying, over and over until they finish all the homework problems, until they pass the test. This year, these last 2 trimesters, that is exactly what Sebastian did. He didn't give up, he kept asking questions, and he kept trying until he made it through to the end of the trimester and made it through finals. The grand scheme of things, passing a physics class may not be the most terribly important thing that you do. And in a couple years, you might not remember too much of those details. But remember this, that was an accomplishment. As you move on to the next part of your life, I want you to remember that. Challenges are inevitable, and the next time you encounter one, in whatever form or aspect of your life that it appears, remember that you have several accomplishments under your belt now. You passed physics. You gave a half-hour presentation on flight. You made it through high school. The last we had talked, you were planning on a career in aviation, possibly going through flight school. Well, as the old cliche is true, quite literally in this case, the sky's the limit. and I look forward to seeing what you achieve. Congratulations, Sebastian. Right. They say bread is life. Some people also say textbooks and the knowledge within is the spice of life. And so it can be compared to biscotti. Okay, sorry, I think, oh, sweet mercy, wrong speech. Bit of an inside joke. The physics and calculus folks will remember that quite clearly. They've heard that speech one too many times. In all seriousness, though, as I was summing up my thoughts about Gavin McClure, his desire to learn and to gain knowledge is one of the first things that came to mind. Few people have the courage to take classes like physics and calculus at the same time voluntarily. That alone is a challenge, and coupled with the challenges that normally come with senior year, I imagine that together that this could have been a daunting year for Gavin. From what I could see, though, that was not the case. He handled all of his tasks calmly, coolly, and on plenty of occasions with a touch of humor. I can't tell you how many times he's told a very good joke in class, and I have to thank you in particular for laughing at and going along with some of my more unusual attempts at humor and pseudo-philosophical musings. In my classes, I would define his work, and by extension Gavin himself, as meticulous and precise. Talking about problem solving, I've seen people take a couple of approaches in that regard. One is to barrel ahead like a freight train and hope that your instincts and knowledge carry you in the right direction towards the right answer to a problem. That does work well for some people, but not always, and frankly not for me, and I think not for Gavin either. Gavin tended to spend a significant amount of time on each assignment, and it was time exceptionally well spent. Each solution was carefully laid out, each step thoroughly explained, and as such, it was rare for him to answer incorrectly on his first try. As you move on to the next stage of your academic career at ASU, never lose that willpower to continue learning, and never lose that thoroughness. Congratulations, Gavin. All right, and now for Mrs. Hemmings.
Good evening. For the past 20 or so years, I've had the privilege of teaching not only my own 4 children, but also many of their friends. And this is a gift for which I will always be grateful. One valuable lesson I've learned in the process can be summed up in the famous words of U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt: "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." It is my hope that all of the seniors on the stage know how much I truly care about them and their success. I had a few of them in Latin as juniors, and I had all of them in my art history class, which I'm pretty sure they dreaded at first, but that perhaps a few of them eventually grew to enjoy. And I was especially fortunate to have 3 of these seniors in my homeroom: Carson Carter, Cato Sinroll, and Raylan Stauffer. When it came time to divide up the senior speeches this year, Mr. Chris called dibs on Cato, so he will be up here shortly to speak about him. I thought briefly about arm wrestling Mr. Chris for it, but then I remembered another valuable lesson I've learned. It's important to know when it's time to just let go. And I'm perfectly happy to be up here to honor the other 2. Before they left on the senior trip a few weeks ago, I asked them to answer a series of questions about their time at JMPS. I was hoping to gather not only accurate facts, but also insightful details that I could include in my speeches. They did not disappoint. And many of the words that I will share come directly from them because, well, they say it best. First up, Carson Atticus Carter. Having just finished reading To Kill a Mockingbird for at least the 5th time, I can attest that that middle name is a lot to live up to. Atticus Finch, one of the story's main characters and one of the most beloved in all of American literature, is wise and compassionate, determined to do the right thing even when success is not guaranteed. At one point in the book, he says to his children, "Courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what." Carson, who began his time at JMPS in the 8th grade, is well aware of the legacy that his name carries, and he embraces it. Many of us have witnessed him pushing through injuries and pain during football, basketball, soccer, and track seasons, focused on not letting his teammates down. When answering the questions that I posed to him, he expressed that, quote, his absolute favorite extracurricular was without a doubt football. The best part, he says, was feeling pain all over my body constantly. But I couldn't complain because I just loved the game and all of my teammates so much. The best memories I have are in locker rooms before games. Also, just every practice made me feel so alive and happy. It is definitely what I will be missing the most about JMPS. Aside from athletics, Carson also participated in plays, musicals, drumline, and rock band. He served in the executive branch of student government and as a campus ambassador. After all, Carson is known for stirring up a crowd, leading cheers from the sidelines and the stands when he is not a part of the action on the field or court. In fact, he recently earned the year-end Campus Spirit Award for this attribute. So it might surprise you to learn that his adopted role as the unofficial mascot of the school was often a challenge he felt he had to overcome. He says, "It's a lot of pressure to try to always be the most hype person in the room. And while that often came easy for me, there were days when I didn't want to talk to anyone. But then I would find myself doing an assembly and dancing in front of the whole school." Carson has worked hard in the classroom, too. He's always loved science, and especially anatomy class, where his favorite lesson involved dissecting a cow eye. Somehow, in the midst of his studies and other stuff, he found time to work several different jobs, first at a restaurant and then at a bakery. Carson is proud of his growth as a student over the past 5 years. Quote, "Although it took a while, I no longer feel like I'm doing all this school for no reason, but because I actually want to learn and develop as a person. I am truly most grateful to the teachers for obviously teaching me, but also for showing me how to advocate for myself and have patience." Carson plans to attend Arizona State University and major in biomedical sciences. Beyond that, he hopes to attend medical school to become an osteopathic doctor or surgeon. My real goal, he says, is just to help young athletes with joint issues so that they can feel comfortable in their own body and continue playing sports or living life pain-free. Wherever he happens to find himself, he will no doubt continue to be, like his namesake, someone who changes the atmosphere around him for the better. Congratulations, Carson. Next, Raylan Grace Stauffer. Continuing with the middle name theme here, because why not? I can say that Grace very much fits Raylan's quiet and unassuming demeanor, as well as her athleticism on the volleyball, basketball, and tennis courts. Raylan is much more comfortable behind the scenes than in the spotlight, as evidenced by her backstage help as part of the tech crew during several musicals and plays. But it's been wonderful to watch her grow in confidence and step up as a leader just when her ability and experience were most needed. That was certainly the case this year during the indoor and sand volleyball seasons, when she played a critical role in getting both teams to the state finals, where they fought hard but finished as runners-up. Vindication was sweet, however, when she and her sand volleyball partner persevered and captured the state pairs championship. This experience proved the perfect ending to Raylan's high school sports career and was all the more sweet because she was able to share the victory with her coach, who also happened to be her dad. Raylan is an accomplished pianist, and she played keyboard this year in rock band. She also played the ukulele for 2 years. Of all of her extracurricular activities, she says, "I enjoyed the sports the most because of the van rides with the team to away games, and also the practices were a lot of fun." Academically, Raylan is proud of the improvements she has made as a student over the course of her high school years, which she admits started out a little rough. Among her favorite classes were chemistry, anatomy, and personal finance. She says, "The source behind my enjoyment in these classes were the fun activities we got to do while also learning useful things in the meantime." Raylan plans to attend Arizona State University in the fall to study business and accounting. "I'm looking forward," she says, "to new opportunities that further my life and career and put me on a successful path. Whatever direction that path takes her, I know Raylan will carry herself with an extra measure of grace." Congratulations, Raylan. And now I will turn the podium over to Mr. Chris, and I won't even make him arm wrestle me for it.
She would have won. Before I begin, when I rather aggressively requested to talk about this student, I was presented with a lovely section by Mrs. Hemmings of things that she would like me to consider including in my speech as I discuss him. I will not include them. I will simply read them verbatim because the things that she had to say about this student were, well, they were too good for me to try and take them from her. So there's a me section, there's a her section, and then there's a me section. I will signal these changes. All right. I met Cato Cinneral a long time ago when I was a student at Madison in my junior year. It was at a track meet early in the day, as I recall it. An underclassman of mine, who was also a former graduate, had walked up to join me in warming up before our discus throws. But there was someone hiding behind her. Couldn't have been higher than maybe that. That might even be a fairly liberal estimation. And he was very shy, very quiet. That was 11 years ago. I know the bald head throws people, but that was only 11 years ago. And for the longest time, that's how I remembered Cato. However, when I joined this school 3 years ago, is when I came to truly know Cato. It was already a shock to the system to see the transition from that shy little boy to the young man who stood before me. All right, I'm done talking about toddler Cato. I'm done. Truth be told, he knew I would do it if I had the chance, and who am I to disappoint? Now, I have the privilege of talking about the Cato that stands with us here today. And it's been a true gift to witness his growth. He is nothing short of remarkable and a testament to the kind of individual this school was built to nurture. He is incredibly sharp, both academically and intellectually. He is an excellent athlete, possessing a true competitor's spirit and drive. He has involved himself extensively in the student government and culture. Cato has a diverse set of artistic talents, all of which he has worked tirelessly to master and improve. His artwork is thought-provoking and raw. His music is incredibly vibrant, and his comedic sense on the stage is impressive. I will now read what Mrs. Hemmings has written for him. One of the really cool things about Cato is that he is not only a visionary who can dream big, but also someone who can follow up and execute the tiniest of details to bring his dreams to fruition. I witnessed this firsthand 2 years in a row during holiday homeroom decorating, when Cato and several other seniors transformed my classroom first into a mini golf extravaganza with 3 different mini golf holes, and later into a food truck with Cato cooking and serving up sliders to everyone who stopped by. They were delicious. Both of these projects were extremely ambitious, and Cato was incredibly instrumental in pulling them off. Throughout the process, he demonstrated excellent leadership skills as well as grace under pressure. He was inclusive toward his teammates, involving younger students and encouraging everyone to work together. He kept us focused and worked steadily right up until the deadline to make everything the best it could be. I saw this with his senior project too, the concert effort to incorporate feedback and make improvements until the day of his presentation arrived. Cato has been such an asset to JMPS, and he will be missed for sure. Now back to Maine. Yet there is a relatability to Cato that seems incompatible with his impressive collection of skills. And this is the true center of what makes him amazing. Despite having all of these incredible attributes, Cato Sinroll lacks one thing: hubris. Cato has a humble heart. He has a grateful heart. Cato understands that his triumphs are the result of hard work and dedication. Not just this, but the support of the people in his life. And he turns around and puts this into practice, going out of his way to help other people he cares about and supporting them. Cato has grown into the kind of man that has embraced his many gifts and has chosen to share them with the world, free of arrogance or spite. Cato, as you take these first steps into a much larger world, keep that humble heart. We are all sick to death of fools who think themselves better than us. You are a breath of fresh air, worthy of admiration, yet not asking for it. This is the way to happiness and success, not just for you, but for all who are blessed to meet you. Cato Sinroll. And now, reaching to us from beyond the veil of distance and technology, my friend, Mr. Roche.
Good evening, or morning. Well, it's morning here, but these usually take place in the evening. Good evening, students, faculty, families, friends. One of the teachers over at James Madison for the last 3 years, and I just want to celebrate one of our students in particular, one of our seniors, Drew Koch. Now this is for you, Drew. You're one of the largest human beings that I've ever met in real life. When I first came to James Madison, I saw you from a distance in assembly, and I honestly thought you were one of the teachers who decided not to show up for orientation. I only got to know Drew a little bit that first year, that sophomore year, but as a junior, he became part of the Roche homeroom. And since then, his aura has skyrocketed. I think I said that right, aura. But not just his aura, but my knowledge and experience of who Drew is as a person. It grew exponentially. That one's for you math nerds. Now, Drew is many things. Tall, absolutely. In fact, I'm pretty sure the atmosphere gets thinner where he breathes. But beyond the height that makes him a walking landmark, Drew is a thinker, an engineer-minded, math-wielding, analytical force of nature. If there were ever a math emergency, Drew wouldn't just solve the problem. He'd probably write you an equation and explain how the emergency happened in the first place. He's got a mind wired for logic, but a heart that's grounded in humility. He's one of those rare people who can disagree with you. You can discuss economics at lunch with Drew and somehow still leaving with the feeling that your opinion mattered, even if he just explained in full detail why your view on inflation is economically unsound. Most students sprint out of my economics class, and I can't imagine why. It's great. Not Drew. No, Drew, he'll stroll up, he'll take a seat, and he'll start up a conversation on marginal utility. But what makes Drew so special isn't just his intellect or the fact that he loves economics almost as much as I do. It's his character. He's sensitive. Drew, you listen and you acknowledge when someone is communicating with you. He respects what others believe, even when he doesn't share those same beliefs. And he leads not with volume. He's not overly boisterous, although he laughs in class, but with vision. And in the Holy Roshan homeroom, or the Roche Raptors, I don't mean to be political, he showed what quiet leadership looked like. He was consistent, he was steady, mostly dependable, with occasional outbursts that hint at real insanity. Now, I won't lie, and many of you know this. Drew has his awkward moments, but they're the kind of awkward moments that make you smile, that remind you that he's a real person. When he encountered the challenges of being concussed, suffering a concussion, he didn't just quit wholesale. Even though it was hard for him to focus, it caused him real pain, he pushed through. Granted, he did use his resources. And that kind of resiliency, that kind of spirit doesn't always show up solely in a GPA, although I imagine his GPA is still pretty good. It shows grit, and it shows growth. And that's the kind of resilience you want in a human being, you want in a person. So to you, Drew, thank you for being tall and thoughtful, slightly awkward, always sincere. Thank you for your love of math. We need more people who love it. Thanks for talking econ with me. Thank you for always telling the truth, at least the way that you saw it and understood it. Thank you for your quiet courage. Thank you for being a good student and a good classmate and a good friend to those around you. I pray wherever you go, be it engineering school, a startup, maybe some dedication to fixing supply lines and lowering the cost of production. Whatever it is, just putting that out there. I know that you will bring the same honesty, the same empathy, and the same intellect that you brought to James Madison and to my classroom. Congratulations, Drew. I wish I could be there in person. I want you to know that you made your mark at James Madison. Now go make it in the world.
I'll be a standing. I have no multimedia presentation. But our next senior is without a doubt a young man of many talents, yet someone who is not one to be overly familiar, at least not right away. I was tempted to use the Winston Churchill quote and describe him as a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma, but I don't think that quite covers it. No offense meant to Mr. Churchill. He is certainly, though, enigmatic, but in a way that speaks of depth and maybe, just maybe, a certain knowledge that he's keeping to himself for a while. It may be true that he is someone who does not allow very many people to observe his talents, but you should be grateful if you are one of those few that Vincent Bollinger allows to look inside his world. One of the fascinating things about Vincent is that while he can seem aloof, great word, that, it is simply inconsequential to him if people are able to recognize what he is capable of or not. This is because he does not base his approach to life on external cues. He's not only secure in the moment, but confident in the knowledge that his abilities will rise to the surface when he needs them to do so. Now, and I don't think this is telling tales out of school, although we're kind of out of school, This non-standard approach does not always dovetail with expectations, and I think we can both admit to having had our moments of not seeing eye to eye. But Vincent is willing to stand by his convictions and accept the consequences and the rewards of his tenacity. And it is exactly this type of tenacity that I believe will be the shield and armor that will take him into the next stage of his life. Vincent is a person of great imagination, a storyteller who can create deeply involved worlds with his art, and he lights up the space when he smiles while telling you about his latest creations. Vincent is planning on pursuing a career in math or science, both of which are arenas in which he excels. And if you know Vincent, you know that he possesses a laser-like focus when he finds those topics that interest him. It is this focus combined with his extraordinary imagination that will, I believe, drive him to the success waiting for him as he plots his path forward. He's one of those students whose curiosity will undoubtedly lead him in unforeseen but wonderful directions. A student who is figuring out how to use his talents at the most opportune time possible. And I know that I will be fascinated to hear about Vincent's continuing path. How will you work to change the world? Well, please keep us posted. Vincent Bollinger. The next student that I have the honor of speaking about is one of those people who takes the principles of JMPS and turns them into real-life examples of what it means to live by those principles. And I think the talk about those principles is sometimes misconstrued, taken as an ideal that we expect all of our students to already be able to adhere to, like some sort of laboratory creation decanted into middle school, and that any diversion is unacceptable. But it isn't like that. All of us need to learn and grow. I know I do. And the growth and understanding of those principles is what will truly define the success of a person. We are all so proud of what our students accomplish in all facets of their lives. They have put in the time and the effort in an academic environment that is not the easiest option. But we are especially proud of those who have worked so hard and so long to sit in front of you this evening. They have learned and grown and become this brilliant group, literally capable of anything and on the cusp of the next stage of their lives. Graduation is a huge box to check off, and this senior has certainly had to decide how to move forward to achieve this goal after the kinds of setbacks that are not always easy to overcome. She had to decide if it was worth it to go down the more difficult path of staying here at JMPS for an additional year to graduate. This was a choice that she would be the first to say was made tougher not only through life circumstances, but also due to some of her own decisions. Not every student has the courage to shoulder that responsibility when faced with another year, and very few can excel. Well, Kira Ogilvy has excelled. She recently honored for that courage. It is deeply gratifying to watch when someone throws the switch and noticeably and clearly and without question puts into play the experience and the advice and the confidence that allows them to take all of their potential and shift into overdrive. Kira assessed her options, and then she not only did what she needed to do, she went and became an indispensable member of this school community. I was particularly impressed when Kira shared her experiences with our students, not just a small group of students, all of the students. She told her story in an unvarnished way so that younger students could not only learn from her mistakes, but also learn from her shining example of perseverance. We speak often of our three-legged stool: academics, extracurriculars, and character. And Kira showed the character to step up into the role of a campus leader. She participated in extracurricular activities, and she worked hard. Even after trying to take out a car with her bicycle, she did the work. And I think she finally saw and believed in the able and intelligent person that we all knew she was all along. Kira is heading into a bright future. She plans on obtaining a master's degree in business with a minor in interior design, all with an eye towards owning her own business someday. And now that she believes in herself, you'd better believe that she will do great things while accomplishing her goals. Kira Ogilvie. And now Mr. Schaefer.
Take a look around. We no longer live in a society built on modesty. Everyone from grade schoolers, even to my beloved Gen X, carry not only their cameras in their pockets, but also the photomats and picture albums with hundreds of pictures of themselves. That's the kind of society that we live in. One humble person would be worth 1,000 selfies. In such a prideful and shallow world, a little modesty could go a long way. And this is how I best describe Emily Tristan. I first met Emily during the last days of the softball program, and since she was there, she received one of my unflattering nicknames. She became E.T. In a group of girls who struggled with even the most basic fundamentals, she could catch a fly ball. She stood out. But she drew no attention to herself. She just wanted to get better. There was no Instagram story talking about softball practice. At least not one I saw. In the classroom, she worked harder than many of her peers. And the extra effort paid off, all the way to the National Honor Society. She never let anything get in her way, even challenges to her personal health. Naturally, this hard work, the awards and accolades followed, but Emily remained humble throughout. In fact, and all the teachers on stage can attest to this, she thanked us after every single class. Just so the students here know, we noticed that. Keeping with the spirit of the code and the mission of the school, Emily was never afraid to try new things. Even another sport I had the pleasure of coaching, tennis. She became our most improved player. In fact, she won the very first match in school history. After that great victory, a tiebreaker in the third set, a real nail-biter, I greeted her with an enthusiastic high five. She wanted to know how the team was doing. Next year, she plans to attend the University of Arizona. There, she will try to, once and for all, conquer her personal health issues, studying endocrinology. This is our loss. This is Tucson's gain. Stay humble, E.T. And in this world of pretentious, shallow posers, you are the real deal. Emily Tristan. Each year, I'm given the opportunity to travel back east with the senior class. 10 days of traveling with 18-year-olds. We get to know one another, to say the least. It's one thing to understand them in the classroom. That's the easy part. What becomes rewarding is to see them graduate as people. Emerith is a genuinely good person. In our world today, it cannot be overstated how important that is. We're surrounded by people who just aren't good. They're out to do us harm, or at the very least, they're out to just disregard us. This is not Emerith. Now, having been her advisor for the last 4 years, I got to see her grow from a shy, very quiet freshman to the amiable young woman that's before us today. She's here, prepared to embark on her continuing education journey, also to the University of Arizona. Again, Tucson picking our pockets. The first 2 years I knew her, I heard her put together maybe 3 sentences. This year, her voice took command of our homeroom. She steered the activities and competitions, helping the Schaefer Homeroom win Spirit Week. And her infectious laugh always brightened the mood during the darkest hours of the senior trip, like the long trips in the van this year through a terrible thunderstorm. Emerith, now that you have found your voice, let it carry. The people around you, they will laugh. They will ask questions. They will learn. But they will definitely listen. Good luck in your future studies. Emerith Valencia. The history department is here to finish strong, so Mr. Mason now.
Indeed. As my colleague, Mr. Schaefer, just decried the pollution of the selfie. As someone who is not of Gen X, I've got to say that he's absolutely right. In my day, if you wanted a selfie, why are you laughing? It's you took out your oils and you painted a self-portrait. And so, in honor of that, I want to paint a series of portraits, as our seniors have looked at together in humanities, of a student that I haven't been fortunate enough to know for an incredibly long time, and that is Ian Hoffman. Now, I came to JMPS in Ian's sophomore year, and as I gained experience as a teacher, I came to understand that while I was a middle school teacher, sophomores are not in middle school, and I then understood why he was not in my class. And so I had pretty limited exposure in these early days with Ian. But still, even with our short time together, I feel like Ian kind of exists in a series of 3 portraits for me. And that starts around the winter of his sophomore year, because typically I would come out and I would do scoreboard for basketball, and Ian was on the basketball team. And one day I saw a guy get up off the bench, go out, start playing, and I went, wow, he's wearing sports goggles. That's pretty cool. That was about the extent of my experience with Ian for those first 2 trimesters. It wasn't much deeper than that. But pretty quickly after the basketball season passed, soccer season came around. And Ian played on a club team, was quite competitive. And still, he came out. He liked to play as a part of the JMPS team, play as much as he could. And this is where I started to see some of the depth behind his character. As this second portrait begins to get fleshed out, some of the more details of his character emerges. Because while Ian had so many other obligations and commitments, he always did me the courtesy of coming through and saying, hey, Coach, just so you know, like, I'm not going to be able to make it to practices. I've got club stuff. Anytime we had a game, he would come and communicate to me. And so I already saw that he was a guy of character, and he was a guy that made sure that he did the right thing, even when it was repetitive, even when perhaps others would think it didn't need to be said. I then saw Ian on the soccer pitch, and I became concerned for the safety of the other young people at our school. He typically, when he played for me, he would run around in the general area that I assigned him with extraordinary talent and a bordering on feral grin on his face for the entirety of the 90 minutes. He paired this visage with what I would describe as a bit of a tumultuous relationship with the referees. And he didn't wear sports goggles, which made me question if that was just a fashion choice. But I let that pass. The season came and went, and throughout Ian's junior year, still not middle school, I did not really have a lot of interactions with him, which brings us to current year. And I knew that I would be having Ian in my humanities class. And I was quite curious to see what this experience would be like. I have only really at this point exclusively seen him as an athlete. But as the teacher director of the NHS chapter, I knew that he had just been elected as the president of NHS. As the senior year unfolded, he also took a leadership position on the Supreme Court. And so I knew that he owned a pair of sports goggles. I'm not sure if he needed them. And I knew that he was pretty universally respected by his peers. I also knew that he and I shared a passion for soccer. And needless to say, this very surface level image that I had of Ian developed quite magnificently over the course of this year. As a student and a person, Ian is regimented and organized to a degree that would put most governments to shame. And academically, he shows a rigor and a drive to complete his assignments and excel in every academic category, even when they don't come easily to him. Not only did I have Ian in my humanities class, but I also was fortunate enough to be his advisor for his senior project. He met all deadlines, typically somewhere around 2 to 4 weeks ahead of schedule, and really challenged me to give meaningful feedback in a way that he wasn't already reflecting. His work was at an exceptional degree, an exceptional level, And it was really a joy to see his writing and expression and academic talent unfold over this senior year. And while these academics and performances in the classroom were impressive, I also want to discuss Ian as a leader, because I think this is where he's shone the most this year. As I watch Ian as a friend, he never weaponizes this intellect. He doesn't make people feel small. He motivates those around him to lift themselves up to the excellence that he is exhibiting. As a leader, he is also not afraid to challenge systems that are put in place around him, especially if they are poorly considered or poorly executed. During his senior year, when typically malaise begins to creep in, Ian remained sharp throughout the course of the year. And he ensured that both his classmates as well as the staff did the same. Ian, this fighting spirit, this willingness to advocate for others is going to serve both you and your selected communities throughout your life. We need more people in our school and more people in the world that are like you. This is not the last chapter of Ian's academic or athletic career. Next year, Ian will be attending the University of Arizona, as he's decided to prioritize his academics over some other more athletic offers that he received. He's going to be studying chemical engineering. I discovered this by really digging deep into some conversations with Ian, and by that I mean that when we were on the senior trip, we were seated across a 15-person table from one another, and while Ian was in a current conversation, I shouted at him, "Hey Ian, what kind of engineering are you studying next year?" And then he said chemical engineering. And then he said, "Wait, what are you doing?" And I said, "Never mind." And I took notes. It was very subtle. While he's chosen to focus on his academics, I have no doubt that come club season, he'll be right back out on the soccer pitch giving it his all, because that's the only way he lets himself operate. Ian, we've recently talked a bit about soccer. We're unfortunate to both be Arsenal fans. And speaking of art, I'm surprised that many people laughed. Nice. Speaking of art, one of the great Arsenal managers, Arsene Wenger, talked about his approach to life, to success. And Wenger said, quote, "I believe the target of anything in life should be to do it so well that it becomes an art. When you read some books, they are fantastic. The writer touches something in you that you know you would not have brought out of yourself. He makes you discover something interesting in your life. If you are living like an animal, what is the point of living? What makes daily life interesting is that we try to transform it into something that is close to art." Both in the classroom, at NHS, and in athletics, watching your work has been watching an artist. And for me, I can say that it has been an unrivaled joy to be a small part of that. I and everyone here is incredibly proud of you, and I look forward to hearing about your next masterpiece. So, Ian Hoffman. I think there's no one to the right of me, so I think, is this the open mic portion? Do we just, no?
Give everybody a minute to dry their eyes as necessary. But now for the presentation of the diplomas. When I call your name, please come forward. Vincent Bollinger. Sebastian Joshua Canonizado. Carson Atticus Carter. Alexa Ruby Carvajal. Ava Rayanne Gordon. Ian Walker Lewis Hoffman. Drew Koch. Gavin John McClure. Kira Ogilvy. Nina Jean Robinson. Kato Kojima Sinro. Raylyn Grace Stauffer. Emily Tristan. Emerith Valencia. And now, in accordance with the standards and expectations of the state of Arizona and the Arizona Charter Board, I now present to you the James Madison class of 2025.